Broads Media.
Here's a question for you. Ready? When are you going to get your head out of your ass? Annihilated by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Coming off of a game where Nick Castellanos, a guy who's been irrelevant more than he's been relevant, he has his moment. Your ace is on the mound with a chance to go 3-1 at home after being on the road and going 4-2 in your previous 6. Here's a chance for you to show you have some sort of urgency and some sort of legitimacy about you. They lost 9-2. It was horrible. Horrible! There's always sloppy crap that happens every night. I think Bohm has been tremendous defensively, and I mean tremendous. But that error was costly. You want to discuss JT Realmuto? Trying to throw the ball to second base, first and third, and that dude flies the ball into the center field? That's embarrassing. Why does this team always play stupid baseball? There are some things that I just can't live with and be okay with. And part of that is the horrendous, sloppy play. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters if you're playing that poorly. Well, they're only one game under 500. Well, they're only 500. Well, they're only this. Well, they're only that. I keep hearing that all the time. They're in a fine spot. They're only 500. So what? Are you pleased? Are you having fun watching this team? I try to. When Brandon Marsh gets a triple, there's one thing that's in my mind. Oh. That's it. Oh. That's a terrible bark. That was a terrible bark. But I just think of a ferocious beast who's working his ass off. He's the only one. He's the only one with his head out of his ass. Is Marshy. Please do something against the Chicago White Sox and the Colorado Rockies. I beg of you. I need it for me to actually survive this upcoming week. You have too much talent to get this crushed. You've been crushed a lot. You've been having a difficult time getting Zack Wheeler some support, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little upset that Zack Wheeler allowed a grand slam. How often is that going to occur? Not very. That was a rare time. Zack is the least amount of worries that I have with this team. He's least on the list. I know Wheels is a beautiful man on the mound. But it's like, yo, dude, he can't allow a grand slam there. Defense didn't help him. Run support wasn't there. But how about this? This is the crazy part of it all. I had no idea what version of Trey Turner or Nick Castellanos we were going to get. I actually raised this question on WIP and very interesting responses throughout the program, but I brought up, who do you have more faith in, Nick or Trey? And people tweeted into the show. We took calls, of course, and it was solid. Responses were very interesting and pros and cons for each side of the debate, but this weekend you get a walk-off from Nick, and you get Trey with his first home run of the year and then an added run as well. 3 hits on the day. Your 2 biggest question marks delivered, and you lose the game so badly that here I am not just discussing a loss, but I'm aggravated processing the loss. When your 2 biggest question marks actually showed a pulse for once this year, and yet you still find a way for me to be pissed. Bryce hasn't been good enough. He has 3 homers on the year. He had 3 homers in 1 game. Is he getting close? There's a few that are right there. There's a few that are getting to the wall. Do I expect Bryce to get hot? Of course. He's Bryce Harper. Yes. But I know the results aren't there. I know he's getting questioned about some sort of video that was funneled through the dugout, and he's screaming, he's showing his frustration. He's now asked about how he's starting the season. That's already starting to rumble. That's already starting to make noise. And it should make noise. But that's how slow of a start it is for Bryce outside of one game. So now, JT Realmuto is all over the place defensively. What was that? Where was his brain? The only thing I could think is because JT is so sharp and he normally makes really good decisions that he realized mid-throw as he was trying to gun it down the second base that I shouldn't be doing this. So hesitation, and then the ball ends up sailing away from Bryson Stott. You know, that's sort of what I think potentially happened there. It just wasn't clean from all angles. Ball goes into the outfield. Oh, man, the whole thing was a mess. Trey Turner was incredible. Trey Turner was incredible. You fall flat on your face. That's a problem. Because I was under the impression that the moment those two show up to the party, it's game over. Where are we getting lost here? The bullpen was great in Game 3. I'm just looking for things that maybe you could have grabbed onto. What would inspire the group? If it wasn't Nick, which is asinine, considering you know about the drama that he goes through on a night-to-night basis with this fan base, if it's not going to be Nick to get everybody rolling and feeling some sort of energy, then how about Matt Strahm in 2 innings getting 5 strikeouts? That's insanity. That dude was a monster, He was so good. And that set the tone for everybody else. Jose Alvarado, Gregory Soto, Jeff Hoffman. You put yourself in an excellent position to take 3 or 4 with your ace after some pretty important players on your roster showed the hell up. You think that could be it. And yet they stumble over their own feet yet again, shooting themselves in the foot and urinating all over their foot. That's what's happened. They're missing the toilet, and it's going all over their feet. And I don't even know if they notice. Then they go out and they try and pick up the ladies. Yo, sir, you pissed on yourself. You ain't getting no ass. Just saying. Is Bryce just off? Or is it going to linger longer than we want it to? I don't know. I'm doing my best to have the reverse psychology. Be negative about it so then he explodes. So how about this, though? Nick Castellanos spoke after his walk-off, and he said here that he is at his best when he keeps it simple. See ball, hit ball. And his last at-bat of the night, he did that, and it made the difference. Here's what he had to say. I think having an opportunity to end the game made me get back to that simplicity. Some guys are willing to sit down after an inning and study every single detail and go to the cameras on the iPad and watch it in reverse, watch it in slow-mo, watch it in fast forward, watch it 75 different ways and try and absorb all the information. And others just go play the game. And I know that there's an era now where they've had so much technology for so long, they don't know anything other than that. This has been a part of baseball to them forever now. But I do feel that Nick falls into that category of let's not overwhelm. And I just wonder if the chase rate, remember last year the downfall was the chase rate and they were struggling at the end of the year trying to do too much. And there's no doubt about it that this team wanted the entire roster to focus on not chasing as much. And I think when you give Nick too much on his plate, that it's going to overwhelm him. You probably get more out of him by allowing him to chase, even though it will come with brutal at-bats. But it's like Rhys Hoskins to a lesser degree. You can live with 35 home runs from Rhys knowing the defense is going to happen. That will limit you. Well, with Nick, if you do have some very bad at-bats, that's his version of poor defense with Rhys Hoskins. That's how I'm bringing it together here. So you live with those bad chase rates, but he can give you 30 home runs, 100 RBI, and hit closer to that 300 number that he was in his final year in Cincinnati compared to what we are getting earlier this season when he wasn't as simple as he was in this Pittsburgh series. He also said he didn't go to college. I get paid to hit dingers. That's his personality. So I think you need to really let him be that. Maybe others, Chase Rade, Bryson Stott, he seems to be someone who really likes that knowledge, young kid, growing, still becoming a star in this league. And I think he is someone who likes to think about the chase rate and this and that, selective aggressiveness. I could see that happening for Stott, and I think that he likes that more. I don't know if that fits Nick. I just don't know if that's good for Nick. And the fact that he's sort of pointing that out as well, I just find it fascinating. That's all. All right, we'll run and react to the Anytime Hotline because, as you could imagine, it wasn't happy times. It wasn't happy times for people. Let's start things off with my man, Sean, as we like to do here on Sports Talk with Broads. Let's take a listen.
Series split with the Pirates at home, just not good enough. The way this team has played, especially at home early in the year, just not good enough. The offense is total trash. Zack Wheeler, granted there were some tough breaks for him, but you got to be better than that. You're the ace of the staff. Go out there and dominate. I don't care if the team scores one run. Against that lineup, you got to make it hold up. Just, I was not a fan of Dave Dombrowski basically running it back going into this season. I thought the changes had to be made, and right now I think I'm right. Bill Parcells once said, you are what your record says you are. Well, they're a 500 team, and we're lucky to be 500 with the non-existence of the offense. Just a terrible game today and terrible early season work by the Phillies. When they pledged to get out of the gates faster, they failed.
So I agree with you, Sean. I'm right there with you, man, for sure. And you bring up the home crowd and how maybe they don't play their best ball in front of them. Isn't that the glorious advantage that you have playing for the Phillies? Isn't that what makes this all special, is the fact that you get to play in front of this crowd? Well, if you don't hold your end of the bargain, you are diminishing the power. You are taking away what gives you that extra jolt and that extra boost. Regardless of playoffs or regular season baseball, that is still the beauty of this team. And we want to build that connection again, and I don't want to wait until September to do it. I love baseball because of the relationship you connect with the team with. And if I'm only going to get 1/4 of the season to do it, while it does matter that it's the most important time of the year where they normally show up, I want at least 3/4 of a season. I know it's not going to be perfect. I know it's not going to be 100. But instead of 1/4 of the year loving my team, I want to love them for 3/4. All right, that's what I demand. And I should demand more. I'm being soft, as John Tortorella would say. Torts, if you're listening, I'm sure he'd be going, soft. Bros, you're soft. And yeah, I probably am. I should be demanding more 4 of 4. Just be good. Be consistent. Instead of this up and down crap. Now, the whole running it back thing. I do acknowledge that I get where they were coming from. And remember, Trey was so bad last year, they signed him to that massive deal because they believed he could be a superstar. Not a good player, not a great player, a game-changing, World Series-changing type impact. That's what they thought for Trey. And because it was such a dumpster fire early, when they technically bring it back with the same roster, they don't think about having the same exact result from the same players on the roster. Maybe that's a fault of their own. But if you look at the numbers from Trey, and when he does find himself, they never anticipated a bad Trey. And his numbers aren't even garbage right now, but I don't get the same feel. The numbers haven't told me exactly and defined exactly the players from an individual level. So if you hit me with batting average and this and that, yeah, well, I watched all the games to this point, and I'm sure you have too, and you're not telling me that Trey Turner is where he needs to be yet. He's not where he needs to be yet. But they projected a better Trey Turner, and he is better than he was last year during the slump, but they're projecting superstar. They're projecting superstar Mookie Betts, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper. That's why he got the money he got. That's why he exploded in the World Baseball Classic the way that he did, because he has it in him and he's capable of doing it. But we got to get it soon here. And with Bryce, he was injured and missed a lot of time last season. So once again, similar roster with Trey and Bryce, but demanding a little bit better from them and having Bryce available. That was Dave's approach when running it back. And I agree with them. I do. I agree with them. I thought having Bryce Harper here and not with the UCL injury and returning from rehab would be very important to a better start of the season. And it is. He's just not performing well. He's just not executing. If that dude was hitting 300 right now with 6 bombs, with a bunch of runs batted in, maybe a few doubles in there, and you're probably 3 games over 500. And I'm not putting all the blame on Bryce, but Bryce is definitely a key part to why this team is 500 and not better. And they projected Bryce to be here and to be effective in the early stages of the season. I don't knock them for that, you know? That's sort of my view on it. All right, let's go to Mike. Yes, let's go to Mike.
Hey, bros. This is Mike calling down here in Melbourne, Florida, Central Florida, where the best things I have are the Miami freaking Marlins, or the Florida Marlins, and the Tampa Bay Rays. Give me a break. Anyway, I could have called any time during the game. Right now, it's the top of the 9th. I mean, what are we doing? Back and forth. The 500, little above, little, 500, little above. It's like a ping pong game. It's just, where are the runs? Where are the hits? Where is our offense? I don't get it. I don't get it. They're not getting it. And it's just so disappointing. It was such a beautiful day out here. I could have lounged on the beach and gotten no, skin cancer. But instead I get eye cancer from watching this mess.
Oh, my.
I don't know, bros. It's going to be a long season.
Mike, it is. And you feel very deflated at the end. I could hear it in your tone. I could actually see your body language as you said that. I'm right there with you, though. It is going to be a long season. Now, part of me embraces that, and I'm excited for the total jerk-off high ups and low lows. But, yeah, the offense is so inconsistent right now. Kyle Schwarber, 0 for 4, and he struck out twice swinging. He grounded out. Hey, I got to give some credit to Rojas here, and here's what I'll say about the Rojas front. All right, I just need him to go 1 for 4 every game. If he could go 1 for 4 and that hit not be just a bunt, I want it to be a legitimate single to right field, a legitimate single up the middle, just something like that. Put the ball in play. He's someone I could live with. Put the ball in play for right now. We have to take baby steps. And if he could go 1 for 4 at the bottom of your lineup, I think he's actually had a couple of strong little series here just in regards to make some good plays defensively. I watched him backtrack to the wall. He was, I wouldn't say tangled up, but I don't know if the wind was in play, and he had an interesting route to the ball. I think the wind was blowing, though, the ball. And it was very awkward, and he still makes the play pretty comfortably, is my point, showing off his defense. You see his ability to snag bases and run. If he goes 1 for 4, that's a 250, very single, pokey hitter, but I could live with that at 9. I could live with that. That's enough where at least you're giving me competent at-bats and hitting 250 as a single hitter at this time in his career. I could live with that. I could live with that. And I think that he's done a nice little job here of showing some value. There's still a long ways to go. Long ways to go. But his at-bats, in my eyes, are starting to get a little tiny bit better in the right direction. Maybe that's not enough for you, but I think it's enough for me right now. But things change rather quickly in this mind of mine. Of course, Sir Anthony Dominguez gets in the game, and you can only imagine what happens. There's an earned run. We got Kerkering back. I don't think I ever gave you guys the update that he did return because we haven't spoke since, and he went 1 inning through 14 pitches, had a strikeout and a walk. Pinto, a little roughed up, got tattooed around. Pittsburgh's now 11-5. And the Mets, by the way, are looking better as the days go on. Now, are the Mets ever going to actually convince me they're good? Absolutely not. They're 7-8. But keep in mind how the season started. They were getting embarrassed. They just won a series against the Royals. They won a series against the Braves as well on the road. So that was a pretty big one. They put up a 16 spot in that final game. So I don't ever trust them ever because they're corny losers. But right now, just to put it in perspective, you're right there with the corny losers. That can't fly with me. That does not fly with me. All right, let's take the next call here.
What's up, Rhodes? Calling at the end of the bottom of the ninth for this Phillies game. Don't really think they have a shot.
They
at
don't.
All, but just kind of a disappointing game overall. Beautiful day. Zack Wheeler was humming in the first part of the game. Really had a good command, and then towards the end, just kind of made some mistakes. Can't really. I don't even know what to say, but I mean, it was just a weird one. The problem that I'm seeing a lot in these games though is just leaving runners on. I feel like every time we have a guy in scoring position, it's just 2 outs. I feel like I turn the TV back on after a commercial break, and before I even sit down, somebody's already popped flying out, and we already have 1 out, and then by the time somebody gets on, we're just leaving them on there with 2 outs, and there's no opportunity. Not really sure where they're going to go. Rockies series coming up. I mean, hopefully we can smack those guys around, but just kind of a frustrating loss today.
Sure was. So I'm looking up here. I know Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports had a few different stats throughout the game. So keep in mind some things could have potentially changed through the 8th inning, the 9th inning, and whatnot. But the Phillies are 1 for 8 with runners on base through 7 innings. They are hitting just .205 with runners on base for the entire year. And then he also brings up that the Phillies had just 1 hit after the 5th inning. They heard some boos by the crowd after falling to 8-8. Just gross. He mentions Andrew McCutchen's 300th career home run. I love Kutch to death. And then here's some numbers for Bryce. Just a brutal week for Bryce Harper after hitting into that double play, which double plays are pissing me off more than anything right now. Stop. 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 Why? Every time. Why? But Harper is 2 for 27, which is .074 over his last 7 games. Average down to 190 on the season. I don't know if that was before or after his final at-bat, but it's irrelevant. The numbers speak for themselves. It's not where we need to be. That's 2 callers that brought up the weather. And I'm with you, man. It's a gorgeous day. It feels like baseball. Every time it gets to this time of the year, I get my Rita's water ice addiction, and I end up getting gelatis nonstop. I'm even at the point now where the dumbass that I am is starting to Grubhub some Rita's to my doorstep late at night. I did that twice already, 2 times, and I'm normally not a big Grubhub guy, not a big Uber Eat guy, not all the time. I'm starting to dabble, though, and it's like, all right, no, because I don't know where to draw the line. But when it's this time of the year, it smells like baseball. It's all about Rita's and that moment and that time and the weather, and now we're getting shit on by the Phillies. 8-8. 8-8. They are playing like an 8-8 team. I hate it.
Yo, bros, this is Sky calling from New Jersey, and what a freaking disaster that I just watched. How could we split with a Pittsburgh Pirate team that's off to a good start, but I expect them to collapse at the end of the year, but that's beside the point. The point was, I feel like we fed Zack Wheeler to the Wolves, and we can't even support him. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. We could support Suarez. We could support Nola. But we can't support Zack Wheeler, only getting was one of my favorite players, Trey Turner, but that was disgusting. Disgusting. We can't feed Zack Wall to the Wolves. What is Zack supposed to do? He shoved most of the night, despite the fact that he gave him a grand slam, but he shoved. I think the mentality needs to change, bro. God forbid if we don't sweep Colorado, man. I mean, until I see a better mentality for the Phillies, we're not going to get better.
Is that what I sound like? Is that what I sound like? I know he's not not intimidating, imitating me. That's not what I'm implying here. But the obnoxiousness. Is that what I sound like? Maybe this is a wake-up call. Maybe I needed that. I don't even know how to respond. All jokes aside. I like the passion. Keep it up. I like the passion. One thing I take a lot of pride in is I love to react to Phillies games. Night to night. It's fun. Let it rip. Let it loose. All right? I like that. I like that. That's good stuff. If anything, I think that actually motivated me to keep it up. So that's a fantastic phone call. Thank you guys so much. I love you to death. Hey, we'll see what they do against Colorado tomorrow, and then we'll react. It'll be fun, I'm sure. All right, everybody. Love you to death, and I'll see you all on the next one.